All right, welcome back, everybody. It's Bruce from the Epic Experiment. We're back, another week, another deck tech. This week, I wanted to do something a little bit different. I got into doing something that's kind of like bracket 2, maybe bracket 1, like tribal theme sort of stuff. I found this commander in my collections, Duskana the Rage Mother. So she was out of one of the March of the Machines, nope, I lied, Murders at Carlisle Manor precons, and so she's 2 red, green, white. So Naya for a 5/5 legendary creature bear. When Duskana the Rage Mother enters the battlefield, draw a card for each creature you control with base power and toughness 2/2. Whenever a creature you control with base power and toughness 2/2 attacks, it gets +3/+3 until end of turn. So it turns all your +2/+2s into potential cards, and then it also turns your things into 5/5s or more so that you can beat face. This is a pretty silly deck. There's really no doubt about it. There's not a single game changer in this list. There is one card that was, and you might be able to, we'll talk about it in a second, but this is a very creature-centric deck that would be pretty good to play as an introductory base for most players. So let's talk about what we're going to do. Well, the idea behind Duskana is we want to get as many 2/2s on the battlefield as we can. So let's talk about first how we're going to get the mana to cast our bears, cast our 2/2s. All right, so we're going to have things like Twitching Doll. 1 and a green for an artifact creature's spider toy. It's a 2/2, so it's a bear as well. And tap, add 1 mana of any color, put a nest counter on Twitching Doll. Sacrifice Twitching Doll, create a 2/2 green spider creature token with reach for each counter on Twitching Doll. Activate only as a sorcery. So it's a bear. It taps for mana. It then makes nest counters, and you can pop it to make more bears that Duskana wants you to do. Sol Ring. Yep. Talisman of Conviction. So 2, and this one makes a red and a white and deals damage to you. We have a Rampant Growth. We have a Primal Growth. We have a Knotvine Mystic. So this is a red, a green, a white for a 2/2, yet another bear. 1 and a tap, and add red, green, white to your mana pool. So 1 mana makes 3. Seems good to me. And then we have a Llanowar Visionary. So 2 and a green for a 2/2. So it's another bear. When it enters the battlefield, draw a card. Tap to add a green. That's all we're going to have for actual hardcore, honest-to-goodness ramp. But I think we're going to see that most of our curve is pretty low to the ground, meaning that we're not going to need a whole lot of land to get off the mark and get going with this deck. All right, so let's talk about all the things that are bears but aren't really bears. When we say bears, we mean things that are 2/2, like the original Grizzly Bears that were from the original sets of Alpha, Beta, Unlimited. So we're looking for 2/2s that do the thing. So let's talk about the collection of 2/2s we have here that have got all sorts of cool abilities. All right, so let's start with Kazali Pride Mage. So that's 1 and a green for a 2/2 with a Cat Wizard with Exalted, or in 1, sacrifice Kazali Pride Mage, destroy target artifact or enchantment. So this is a bear, attacks triggers with Duskana beautifully, but then you can use it to remove something problematic later. Duskwatch Recruiter, 1 and a green for a 2/2, Human Warrior Werewolf. You don't care about the werewolf side. You don't care if it ever flips over. So this is 2 and a green. Look at the top 3 cards of your library. You may reveal a creature card from among them and put it into your hand. Put the rest of your bottom of your library in any order. So this is going to be, it could be a card advantage engine later in the game, looking for bears, looking for things that trigger off Duskana. So it could be a very useful card. We have Solemn Simulacrum, sometimes known as Sad Robot. So 4 mana for a 2/2. It's a golem, so when it enters the battlefield, you search your library for a basic land, put it onto the battlefield tapped, then shuffle your library. When Solemn Simulacrum dies, you draw a card. It's a 2/2. It triggers off everything you're doing. It's fantastic. Rot Wolf, 2 and a green for a 2/2 wolf with Infect. Whenever a creature dealt damage by Rot Wolf, this turn is put into a graveyard. You may draw a card. When you're turning Rot Wolf into a 5/5 Infector, like, this is pretty silly, and your opponents are going to have to answer this thing. And it's pretty innocuous. Tuya Bearclaw, 1 red green for a 2/2 legendary creature Human Warrior. Whenever Tuya Bearclaw attacks, he gets +X until end of turn, where X is the greatest power among creatures you control. Well, if you have Duskana on the battlefield, it's going to be getting +5/5, so seems good. Tracks. Skyclave Apparition. So this is also a piece of interaction. So 1 white for a 2/2 core spirit. When Skyclave Apparitions enter the battlefield, exile to 1 target non-land, non-token permanent you don't control with converted mana cost 4 or less. When Skyclave Apparition leaves the battlefield, the exiled card's owner creates a XX blue illusion creature token where X is the converted mana value of the exalted card. This is a really useful piece of flexible removal, but it also is yet another bear. Taurian Mauler, 2 and a red for a 2/2 shapeshifter. It's got Changeling, and whenever an opponent casts a spell, you may put a +1/+1 counter on Taurian Mauler. So it's going to get massive. Silverblade Paladin, 1 white for a 2/2 with Soul Bond. It's a human knight. As long as Silverblade Paladin is paired with another creature, both creatures have double strike. So you're looking at 5/5s with double strike because of Duskana and this card. Yes, please. Fiendslayer Paladin, 1 white for a 2/2 human knight. First strike, lifelink, and then Fiendstriker Paladin can't be the target of black or red spells your opponents control. Mentor of the Meek, 2 and a white, 2/2 human soldier. Whenever another creature with power 2 or less enters the battlefield, under your control, you may pay 1. If you do, draw a card. So you got another draw engine there. Away we go. Taurian, Fist of the Angels. Taurens. 1 white green, 2/2, legendary creature, human cleric. Training. Whenever you cast a creature spell, create a 1/1 green and white human soldier creature token with training. Yes, please. Anafenza, 2 and a white for a 2/2 with flash. First strike. Whenever another non-token creature you control dies, Anafenza endures 2. So by enduring 2, you can either put 2 counters on Anafenza or you can make a 2/2 bear. Yes, please. That sounds delightful. Fauna Shaman. 1 and a green for a 2/2 elf shaman. Discard a card, a creature card, search your library for a card, creature card, reveal it, put it in your hand, then shuffle. So if I need to go find a creature, of which there are lots in this deck, that might be a good ticket. Safi Eric's Daughter. 1 white and a green for a 2/2 legendary creature, human scout. Sacrifice Safi Eric's Daughter. When target creature is put into your graveyard this turn, return that card to the battlefield. This is a little piece of protection to go along with Duskana, since people are going to want to remove her. News Constrictor. 1 and a green for a 2/2. Reach, discard a card. News Constrictor gets +1/+1 till end of turn. So you have a bear, you want to make your bear bigger, you could trigger off this. Rada, Heir to Keld. Red, green, 2/2. Legendary creature, elf warrior. Rada, Heir to Keld attacks, you may add a green and tap to add another green. So there's another piece of ramp, it's also a bear. Then we're also going to play a Scavenging Ooze. 1 and a green for a 2/2. Single green, exile target card from a graveyard. If it was a creature card, put a +1/+1 counter on this creature, and you gain 1 life. Okay, cool. It makes my bear big. And then I'm going to play 7 dwarves, because each of these are 2/2s for 1 and a red. And then 7 dwarves gets +1/+1 for each other creature named 7 dwarf you control. A deck can have up to 7 cards named 7 dwarves. So this is kind of cute because all your dwarves are 9/9s. Because of the extra pump. But the way Duskana is worded is their base power and toughness is 2/2. These are all 2/2s, and then they get the bonus. So it sounds good to me. All right, next. Let's talk about actual honest-to-goodness bears, because that's also fun. All right, we have Balduvian bears. We have grizzly bears. These are like OG bears. These are here for flavor value because they are absolutely funny to play. We have Wilson, which is really just another grizzly bear, but it's got some extra text because of vigilance, reach, and trample, and it's Ward 2. That seems like too much text on a pretty vanilla creature. Ayula, Queen Among Bears. Whenever another bear enters the battlefield under your control, choose 1. Put 2 +1 counters on target bear. Target bear you control fights target creature you don't control. So you could make your bears fight their things. I think that sounds like fun. Kudo, King Among Bears. White and green for a 2/2 legendary creature, bear. Other creatures you control have base power and toughness 2/2 and are bears in addition to their other types. I love bears. Mother Bear. 1 and a green for a 2/2 bear. 3 green, exile Mother Bear from your graveyard. Create 2 2/2 green bear creature tokens. Activate this only anytime you can cast a sorcery. So you make a bear, then you make 2 more. Grizzly Fate. 3 green, sorcery. Put 2 green bear creature tokens onto the battlefield. Threshold. Threshold is when you have 7 or more cards in your graveyard. Instead, put 4 2/2 green bear creature tokens into play. And Flashback. 5 green. you're going to get a lot of bears. And of course, then we have Kamal's Summoning. 3 in a green, sorcery. Each player may reveal any number of creature cards from their hand. Then each creature puts a 2/2 green creature bear token into play for each creature he or she revealed this way. So if you have a bunch of bears in your hand, you reveal it, you make more bears, everyone gets some bears. I like bears. And then we're going to have some things that make more bears, or not really bears, but things that look like bears. Finale of Glory and White Sun Zenith have the text. Create X 2/2 white soldiers creature tokens with vigilance. If X is 10 or more, also create 4X white angel tokens. That's what Finale of Glory says. White Sun Zenith, you're just making 2/2 cats. And then fourth Aerlingus is X and red and white. Create X 2/2 red human knights with tokens with trample and haste. Whenever one or more creatures you control deal combat damage to one or more players this turn, you become the monarch. Ooh, yes, please. Okay, so you've got all those big things making bears everywhere. You're going to want to attack. All right, so what are we doing here? So we have Kutsil, Malamet Exemplar, 1 green, white, 3/3, legendary creature, cat warrior. Your opponents can't cast spells during your turn. Yes, please. I like that ability. Whenever one or more creatures you control with power greater than its base power and toughness deals combat damage to a player, draw a card. Okay. So we're going to be drawing some cards with that, I see. Thank you. We have Sereth, the Viper's Fang. 2 green, 3/4 legendary creature, human warlock. Other tap creatures you control have Death Touch. So no one really wants to block bears with Death Touch, and they certainly won't win this around. And then other untapped creatures you control have Hexproof. So let's say you don't want to attack. Maybe you don't want to attack with Duskana. Now they can't target it. And then one untapped target creature or land you control. Okay, seems good, applicable. Goreclaw. So the Goreclaw, Terror of Calcisma, 3 in a green, 4/3 legendary creature, bear. Creature spells you can cast with power 4 or greater cost 2 less to cast. We're not really making use of that particularly well, but we are using this next clause. Whenever Goreclaw, Terror of Calcisma attacks, each creature you control with power 4 or greater gets +1/+1 against trample until end of turn. So all those 2/2s that are bigger because of Duskana are really, Goreclaw looks at them and says, oh, those are 5/5s. I'm going to trigger, and they all get bigger, and they all get trample, most importantly. So 6/6 with trample makes short work of the game. Sarah's Emissary is a big old thing. 4 white for a 7/7 angel. Flying. As Sarah's Emissary enters the battlefield, choose a card type. You and creatures you control have protection from the chosen card type. You're probably going to pick creatures, and you're probably going to attack with a bunch of bears. And the idea being that you're going to be able to punch through and kill somebody. I like this effect. It's super powerful, and I really enjoy playing it in decks. Hard to tell how people respond to it. We have Surak and Goreclaw, 4 green for a 6/5 legendary creature, human bear. Trample. Other creatures you control have trample. I want that. Whenever another non-token creature enters the battlefield under your control, put a +1/+1 counter on it. It gains haste until end of turn. So things come into play. If Goreclaw's sitting out there, they're going to pick up a counter. Seems good. And then we have Gisela, Blade of Gold Knight. 4 red, white, 5/5 legendary creature, angel. First flying and first strike. If a source would deal damage to an opponent or a permanent an opponent controls, that source deals double that damage to that player or permanent. If a source would deal damage to you or a permanent you control, to prevent half that damage, round it up. So, it's pretty difficult effect for your opponents to fight through. All right? Okay. So, we've talked about all the creatures in this deck. What are we doing with them to interact and make sure that we don't get blown out? Well, I've got some protection spells here. So, we've got Make a Stand, and we've got Rootborn Defenses. So, these are going to protect us from board wipes. The biggest concern I have is that the board wipes are going to take out my board full of creatures. So I don't want that to happen. If they do, I've got a Raise from the Past, which is going to get you return all creature cards with mana value 2 or less from your graveyard to the battlefield. That's going to be a significant number of creatures. Generally, it's going to be bears, and you're not going to be sad to see them returned. All right, we also have a Regrowth. Regrowth, return target card from your graveyard to your hand. So just pretty generic ability. You're going to be able to make good use of that. All right. We're going to have some other interacting with our opponents to make sure that we don't end up dying a horrible screaming death. So we're going to pick your poison. I think this is probably like as close to green as going to get to Source of Plowshare ever. So choose one. Each opponent sacrifices an artifact. Each opponent sacrifices an enchantment. Each opponent sacrifices a creature with flying. So I've used all 3 modes in Commander. In fact, the number of times I've cast it, I've never been sad to see this card get played. I think this card is excellent, so I'm a really big fan. It is a bit of an unfortunate fact that they get to pick, but if you can get it to work for you, it's going to be okay. Out Muscle. So 3 and a green for a sorcery. Put a +1/+1 counter on target creature you control. Then it fights target creature you don't control. Adamant. If at least 3 green mana was spent to cast a spell, the creature you control gains indestructible until end of turn. Okay, this is a fun to fight spell. I'm pretty okay with it, but I really want this because it's the dude suplexing a bear. You see that? Suplexing a bear. I'm a big fan. All right. Then we have Overwhelming Stampede. Overwhelming Stampede is 3 green, sorcery. Until end of turn, creatures you control gain trample and get +X/+X, where X is the greatest power among creatures you control. If you can have, I don't know, anything on the battlefield is a 5/5 or a 6/6, and your team is picking up 5/5 or 6/6 in trample, you're hitting with like 10/10 bears, you're probably winning the game. So, Overwhelming Stampede, excellent card in this list. We have a Manglehorn. 2 and a green, 2/2. Beast. When Manglehorn enters the battlefield, you may destroy target artifact. Artifacts your opponent's control enter the battlefield tapped. This is a pretty tricky effect for your opponents to play through. No one likes it. Super good card. Downdraft. This is one that we talked about on the show actually a while ago. So this is 2 and a green for an enchantment. Green. Target creature loses flying until end of turn. And then sacrifice Downdraft. Downdraft deals 2 damage to each creature with flying. Okay, one of the drawbacks of this deck is it doesn't have any flying in it. So I need to bring things down to ground and so I can block them and kill them. So this allows you to target multiple things, bring them out of the sky, and you can use it on your opponent's turn. If they're attacking somebody else, just to mess with their combat. It's a pretty flexible, interesting card. I really like it. It's kind of weird and janky inclusion. I really like it. All right. We have Brave the Sands. 1 and a white, enchantment, and creatures you control have vigilance. Each creature you control can block an additional creature. So this is going to, since this is a deck premised on being able to attack and block, I want my creatures to have vigilance. This is a great way to do it. And then they also get the ability to block multiple targets. Okay, return the favor. Red, instant with spree. And so for an extra 1, so that's 2, red, and 1. Copy target instant spell, sorcery spell, activated ability, or triggered ability. You may choose new targets. Or you can pay 1 and red, so red and 1. Change the target of target spell or ability with a single target. So if they're trying to remove your thing, you can, it's basically deflecting swat it. If you want to copy your spell, let's say you want to copy your out muscle, you could do that too. It's pretty cool. All right, then we have Kabira Takedown. Kabira Takedown, 1 and a white for an instant. Kabira Takedown deals damage equal to the number of creatures you control, the target creature or planeswalkers. So it is a potential removal spell, but it's also a land on the other side, making it eminently very useful. Then we have Austere Command and Dusk. All right, so Austere Command has 4 modes. You have to pick 2. You have Destroy All Artifacts, Destroy All Enchantments, Destroy All Creatures with mana value 3 or less, Destroy All Creatures with mana value 4 or greater. So you could conceivably pick this up to be mostly a one-sided wrath because most of your creatures are almost all those 2/2s are under 3 mana or 3 mana or less. So you're going to be wiping your opponent's stuff out if you pick the 4 or bigger mode, and none of your things are likely to die. So that's pretty good, but it also makes a mess of artifacts and enchantments. Dawn does something very similar. So 2 white for a sorcery, destroy all creatures with power 3 or greater. Since most of your things are bears, you're going to probably get away pretty scot-free. And then on the other side, you have the Aftermath Dawn. Return all creature cards with power 2 or less from your graveyard to your hand. So if you've been board wiped after the fact because your opponent has recognized they're in big doo-doo, this is a really good way to ensure that you get your things back to keep carrying on. Then let's talk a little bit of card advantage. So we've seen Duskana provides card advantage in the command zone. We've seen a few other ways to draw cards. We have some other things. We have Cathartic Reunion, 1 and a red. This will cost to cast a spell, discard 2 cards, draw 3 cards. All right, just to keep you digging, looking for things. We have assemble the players. So 1 and a white for an enchantment. You may look at the top card of your library anytime. Once each turn, you may cast a creature spell with power 2 or less from the top of your library. You saw the number of things in my deck that are power 2 or 2 or less. That's almost all of them. And so you're going to be able to get good value after you assemble the players. Ranger's class, 1 and a green, has 3 modes. So the first chapter, when Ranger class enters the battlefield, make a 2/2 green wolf creature token. So I make a bear? Cool. Then you have to pay an extra 1 and a green to move to level 2. Whenever you attack, put a +1/+1 counter on target attacking creature. Cool, even better. And then another 3 and a green, you may look at the top card of your library anytime. You may cast creature spells from the top of your library. So again, a way to generate value, and by casting creature spells, more of your bears off the top of your deck, you're going to be able to rebuild from potential being wiped out. The one card that is interesting here is that Trouble in Pairs had been originally on the Game Changers list. It has been taken off the Game Changers list, meaning this deck actually has no Game Changers in it. But this is a 2 white for an enchantment. If an opponent would begin an extra turn, that player skips that extra turn. So they don't get extra turn spells. Cool. And then whenever an opponent attacks you with 2 or more creatures, draws their second card each turn, or casts their second spell each turn, you draw a card. You're just going to draw a lot of incidental value with this particular card. You're not really looking to play it for the extra turn protection, although that's kind of handy too. But you're really looking to make sure that you are in good position to draw a bunch of cards. All right. So that's Duskana. So she's kind of new, kind of wonky. I'm not sure. I probably would put her level at a bracket 2. All right. Because of the fact you're playing a few really powerful outliers like Trouble in Pairs, Fourth Aeolingus, and a few others, some pretty sort of potent things, the Overwhelming Stampede, that sort of stuff. I would probably put this about precon ability to hang with people at a bracket 2. Although, I could see this being played as an actual honest to goodness bracket 1 bear tribal deck, and making good use of it that way. So anyway, kind of a neat deck. The list is going to be in the notes down below. So by all means, check it out. Have a look. If you have feedback, I'd love to hear it, because this is something that's I have yet to build like before. I'm trying it out with looking with the new bracket system in mind to try and build Duskana to make her fun. If you have ideas, love to hear them in the comments down below. Like and subscribe, as always. We're trying to get to 50 followers before the end of the month of May. We picked up an extra couple this week, so we'd love to have people join us. If you want to hear more about what we have to say each and every week, you can find our weekly podcast also in the notes down below. Thanks so much, everybody. This is Bruce of the Epic Experiment signing off, wishing you all a good night. We'll talk to you all again soon.